But what we are lucky to bring, not only here in this panel, but even in Brussels, is a message, a positive message of hope that electricity is really going to be the key solution to the future energy needs of Europe, to bringing European society to a sustainable future. And we think that as power, as electricity becomes increasingly decarbonized, as more renewables come on the market, as RES integration is completed at the European level, we will see electricity contributing massively to the decarbonization of the European economy. It will help to improve health by reducing air pollution, so improving air quality in our cities, particularly when electricity is used in sectors like transport and in buildings. But also, as was mentioned, massive investment is needed in terms of energy efficiency, and electricity used in buildings and in transport delivers massive savings in the way we use our energy. So electricity really is going to manifest itself as the key tool to achieving decarbonization. The power sector is fully on board with this. We are fully committed to this energy transition. We are lucky to have a new president leading our association right now. He is the CEO of NL Group, Mr. Francesco Starace. Starace comes along with a strong and forward-looking vision for the power sector. It was mentioned, like I said, in the previous intervention, but this will also filter through in how the electricity sector is perceived in Brussels, which is not always in the most forward-looking way, but we have now a vision to really take forward electricity in this journey to the future. And I will mention a couple of the areas where we will be seeing big shifts in the way electricity is conceived in Europe. To make a success of this energy transition, the electricity sector across Europe, while it is investing in renewables, while it is decarbonizing its own power generation, so as the carbon intensity of power reduces across Europe, and this has been going on for a number of years already, the electricity that we provide to the grid will become a trigger for decarbonizing other sectors as well. So what we will be calling for in the years to come, and we are already calling for in Brussels today, is to accelerate and broaden electrification of society by using electricity more widely, not only in transport, where this is obvious already today. We are seeing every day or every week, you could say, announcement by car manufacturers coming up with new models of electric vehicles. We need this investment to take place at the European level, investments in the grid, investments in electromobility infrastructure, but we also need the necessary legislative framework to take place and the necessary reforms at the European level. We are also engaged in ensuring that the necessary innovation and in building cross-sectoral business models across the different sectors. We are looking at how the digital revolution can impact the electricity sector, what impact this is going to have on the way we do our business with the retail customers, how to bring the consumers right at the center of the way we do our business. And we believe that this will be one of the keys to keep adding value to power generation in the future. At the same time, it is no news that across Europe there are still a lot of high carbon assets. A strong investment will be needed to really make this clean energy transition, which the electricity sector is capable of doing. We are calling for more integration of RES and the restructuring of the electricity markets, markets which we believe should value flexibility, but also security of supply and not just the value of the energy itself. And we are also calling for sustainable solutions to change society to a carbon-free society. And what do we mean over here? As many of you know, Europe is a continent which is currently moving at different speeds. There are different starting points. The power sector is a sector at a European level which represents the interest of the entire European electricity industry. So what we are saying is that there should be ways to ensure that there is sustainable development also for those those regions and those countries in Europe which are still reliant heavily on carbon-intensive power generation. And so which brings me to the issue of money, which is what I believe this panel was for. Well, the power sector itself, we have invested already significantly in renewables since 2004. We've invested over 900 billion euros in RES investments since 2004. And the result of that is that today we have over 56% of power being generated across Europe, which is coming from carbon-free sources. That is over half, well over half of Europe's electricity already coming from carbon-free sources, and this is set to continue as time goes on. But achieving the targets that Europe is setting for ourselves will need significant investment. I will try not to go over the time. But for example, achieving the 2030 climate and energy targets, which are also set to become more ambitious, the Commission has said that this will need 380 billion euros per year in investment. And so we think that the EU institutions should recognize the impact that this is going to have on societies and should embrace the role that electricity can play in this energy transition. And one final word that I will say is that one key message that we will be bringing to our European counterparts is that we need a new multi-annual financial framework, so the MFF, which is basically the European budget, which has been set already up until 2020, so there is now a discussion to revise the MFF in the post-2020 period. We need an MFF, a framework that recognizes the role that electricity is going to play and supports the essential infrastructure. We need infrastructure in low-carbon generation, in energy storage, demand-side response, energy efficiency, but also the infrastructure and the charging infrastructure for electromobility and smart grid solutions. So this is the message that I want to bring. We are confident that electricity has an important role to play, and maybe I will leave some time for some questions and answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Velle, for a very thoughtful presentation about not only Eurelectric, but about the major issues that the electricity industry and the energy industry are now facing in Europe. And I'm also glad that you gave a number about the investment outlook for renewables over the next 10 years, I believe. Now, because this conference is about Southeastern Europe, and in view of our discussion, we have about a quarter of an hour for our discussion, I would like just to bring to your attention some basic numbers which we have studied and prepared as part of the Outlook study. Now, for the whole of Southeast Europe, and we're talking about the 13 countries, including Turkey, the foreseeable investment over the next 10 years until 2025 is 140 billion for the electricity sector, and this is a conservative scenario. We have an optimistic scenario which brings this to about 147. To that, we shall have to add renewables, and renewables outlook in terms of investment for the next 10 years is 40 billion and about 50 billion on the optimistic scenario. Now, if you divide this by half is Turkey, very broadly speaking, and the other half is the European side of Southeast Europe, the old continent side. So this gives you an idea of the investment challenges that this specific region contains. And this analysis has been made possible because we have collected and analyzed information from different countries, project by project basis concerning the cross-border projects. This figure includes the cross-border projects. But of course, the bulk of the investment is the various big or medium-sized projects in all these countries. And I think between you have the financial means to make such investment and such projects possible. So with this, I would like to ask the audience for any questions, which I'm sure they're going to have, to our distinguished panel on the subjects they raised. So, are there any questions? Yes.
Estão me. Thank you very much, Mr. Stampolis. I'm a journalist, and I was very enthusiastic with Mr. Genet's approach. And I would like Mr. Genet to ask you if Greece, in your opinion, can move much more faster towards public-private partnerships, achieving shorter times of implementation, as Greece has already a good experience in this kind of projects, which are, of course, the base also for the success of any projects of Juncker plan. This is the philosophy. Specifically, in the field of energy efficiency, obviously, a major player which could be, for example, PPC, is needed. And one major player should open the market rapidly. What kind of prerequisites would you ask besides profitable projects in this field? This is a question for Mr. Genet, and permit me to set a very short question also to Mr. Fridas, because as we say, we ladies, blending financing is very in fashion nowadays, and we hear very much in Greece for blending financing. Would you be ready as IFC, with your very good experience with Greek clients and with also having financing already projects, Hellenic projects, for cooperations with EBRD and EIB also? Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Mr. Janet, you answer first, please.
Okay, well, actually, I think you answered the question in the way you introduced it. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Greece has a fantastic record on PPPs when it chooses to go down a PPP route. I mean, if I can just maybe illustrate this with an anecdote, really, I just take 1 minute. It's not in this sector, but it was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had in banking. And that was when we went to see the first of the new PPP schools that opened this year in Athens. And we walked around this world-class, I wouldn't even say European class, world-class facility, which is going to remain under the design, build, operate and maintain contract, that level of quality throughout its operational life. And the poor teacher and children who were having their lessons disrupted by these suited bankers and I think some MEPs as well. Somebody asked the question. So what is it, children, that you like about your new school? You know, I mean, just poor kids. And this little girl put her hand up and said, "I really like my new school because it feels like going to a private school." And, this was completely unscripted, but basically what she was saying was, I just feel I'm now in best of class. And that was a really powerful experience. And it shows to me that Greece has a great track record of doing PPPs. It has fantastic experience in Nikos Mantsoufas's team. What do we need? We need two things, in my view. And now I'll answer the second part of your question. We need as well as profitable projects, and what makes profitable projects is we need strong contractors. This is really what the bankers need. We need strong contractors. We need strong equity injections. And we'll get that through strong competition. So what we need above all is to move from a model in which we do a PPP project in the school sector, to one in the waste sector, to one in the hospitals, to one in the roads, to programs of PPP investments that really encourage international players in this market, contractors and equity investors, to say, yes, I'm going to be there, I'm going to be bidding, maybe I won't win this one, but I know there's a program of future investments, and I know I'm going to be successful at so I'll invest. That's what we need.
Nicholas, would you like to add to this?
Yes. So, am I being heard? Okay. So the short answer about the blended financing is, as far as I know, is yes. We are, of course, welcoming. Now, this answer, of course, is coming from an engineer and not a banker. I'm an engineer, although I'm trying to get dressed as a banker, but I'm an engineer. So I will also delegate to Nicholas part of this answer. But the key is, of course, the project criteria. Nicholas has mentioned the criteria for every project and every investment. And in some cases, EBRD, World Bank has different criteria, IFC has different criteria. But as far as I know, of course, this kind of type of financing is open and welcoming for other donors and other IFIs. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yes.
No, I mean, I think maybe we should.
Could I ask Mr. Lee a question? In your presentation, you put the One Belt and One Road in a box, and it was really at the end. And also you talked a little about how the bank, this is now one of the priorities of the bank. Can you please clarify this? It's definitely as part of the brief of the bank, but to what extent is this a priority? And could you give us an example of how funding from China Development Bank is going to support this initiative of the Chinese government?
Okay, I think thank you for the question. I think the One Belt, One Road initiative, it's a kind of a very special development model. We call it a win-win solution, mutually benefit solution. And from the financial institutions' point of view, we mainly, in a very high level, we mainly focus on three factors. The first one is the strategic necessity of the project. I mean, strategically, particularly from the government level, this kind of project should be in the relatively long-term strategic planning, and this project can have a very positive effectiveness to the local community, local society, even for a regional market. And from this point, you know, if a project has been identified as a strategic important project, this project can have many strategic resource allocation. Many strategic resources can be allocated to this project or something related to this project.
Have some projects have already been included in this and the bank is moving ahead, or is this in the planning stage?
Yeah, we have a very special model, which we call it, firstly, to realize the consensus from between the government. And I mean, we need to get a very good understand of the government's development target. And meanwhile, we will provide such kind of consulting service to assist the government formulate a more appropriate plan. And then we will help to carry out the plan step by step, based on the host country's current condition. For example, just take China as an example. China, in 1980s, we developed the exportation oriented industries. In 1990s, we developed the infrastructure. In 2000, we developed the innovation-driven industries. So different period, we can have different plan. Yeah.
So thank you very much for clarifying this. And I think it's a very important initiative, and we are all watching this carefully. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, we've reached the end of this very busy day. When the program... I'm sorry, but we're running short of time. Okay, one question. Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. I kind of hijacked it. So,
two questions,
okay.
1 and 2.
Well, thanks a lot. Our company, I'm the CEO of Skepsis Capital. We are a Singaporean company. We're a private equity company. And we focus on bringing investments in Greece, particularly in the renewable industry. I just came from Kardica, surveying a wind park. Now, we agree with Mr. Janet, we need competition, we need to move away from PPE. And in fact, Greece offers exceptional opportunities for investors. But the elephant in the room is project financing. We cannot do anything without project financing. And I'm very happy you said we have a beauty quest. So here's the problem. We have identified large corporations in Asia. We have only institutional investors. We have excellent projects in Greece, probably exceptional in terms of Europe. But project financing is only available from Greek banks, who are doing an excellent job, but they have the constraints we all know. Today, the message was very optimistic, but we have seen a Chinese wall when it comes to project financing in Greece if there is no PRI. That's the elephant. So my question is to the three Beauty Quest contestants today. Would you extend project financing when there is a Chinese corporation and an excellent project in Greece? Would you extend project financing? We have approached MIGA in the World Bank, and the answer was clearly no. MIGA will pretty much guarantee investments in any other country in Europe besides Greece. The offices are actually in Thessaloniki. And we have seen a lot of Asian banks willing to do these projects, but they are not stepping in because there's no PRI. So my question is, and I'm sorry, the question is only for Greece. I understand this is a Southwestern European event, but this is our interest from Singapore is here.
Okay, I think the question is clear. Can you please answer which one, Mr. Jenner?
Well, I mean, I think maybe we should take this offline and we can speak after the event. I think we're open for business if the project meets the 4 criteria, and there's no secret that meeting particularly the economic criterion has sometimes been a challenge. Now, that's partly been about regulation. It's the whole series of factors that you understand better than I do. But we have financed wind projects using, and I'm assuming meaning project financing as a financial tool, techniques. It does happen. It has happened. We're open for business, but the project needs to meet those 4 criteria.
Yeah, by myself, I would give almost the same answer. I didn't fully understand who is the sponsor of the project. I mean, obviously, IFC is interested to support private sector investments, so private entities, not social enterprises. But if our criteria, including the due diligence of who is the sponsor, and I don't see any difficulty on financing projects in Greece.
Final question, please make it short and on the point.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ που μου δίνετε το λόγο. Ένα πρόβλημα μεγάλο που έχω, είμαι και εγώ επενδυτής. Δεν υπάρχουν δίκτυα και δίκτυα ούτως ώστε η ενέργεια που παράγεται στη χώρα μας να μπορεί να χρησιμοποιήσει την ενέργεια από φωτοβολταϊκά, που πρέπει να γίνουν πάρα πολλά, και από αιωλικά πάρκα. Είναι πολύ μεγάλο αυτό το πρόβλημα και το είπαν και στο πάνελ ότι χρειάζονται διασύνδεση μεγάλη. Και ήθελα να ρωτήσω, εφόσον υπάρχουν τόσα πολλά χρήματα διαθέσιμα, πάρα πολλά, πολύ περισσότερα από αυτά που είπαν οι κύριοι που είναι στο πάνελ, γιατί όλα αυτά δεν χρησιμοποιούνται ούτως ώστε να παραχθεί ενέργεια φτηνή, να είναι πιο φτηνό ρεύμα όχι μόνο στη χώρα μας αλλά και παγκόσμια, και ούτως ώστε να υπάρχει ένα καλύτερο μέλλον για την κοινωνία. Ευχαριστώ.
Mr. Fridas has the floor.
Τώρα αυτό βέβαια είναι ένα θέμα το οποίο είναι στις αρμοδιότητες των δικτύων, δηλαδή του ΑΔΜΙΕ και του ΔΔΕ. Κατά πόσον, αλλά από ό,τι ξέρω, τουλάχιστον ο ΑΔΜΙΕ έχει ένα πολύ ισχυρό πρόγραμμα επενδυτικό να μπορέσει να αξιοποιηθεί και η παραγωμένη ενέργεια από ανανεώσιμες στα νησιά και να αξιοποιηθεί όλο αυτό το δυναμικό με τη διασύνδεση. Όσον αφορά βεβαίως τα δίκτυα μέσης και χαμηλής τάσης, και πάλι νομίζω ότι ο ΔΔΕ εξετάζει όλα αυτά τα θέματα, εξετάζει την παραγωγή η οποία είναι τη διανεμμένη παραγωγή δηλαδή και φροντίζει για αυτή την κατάσταση. Αλλά βεβαίως υπάρχουν και οι επενδυτικές δυνατότητες. Και αυτό είναι ένα επίσης άλλο θέμα, διότι και τα δίκτυα έχουν το κόστος τους, έχουν και τις ανάγκες χρηματοδότησης. Αλλά νομίζω ότι όλα αυτά, δηλαδή στα προγράμματα τα επενδυτικά των διαχειριστών των δικτύων, λαμβάνονται υπόψη το δυναμικό ανανεώσιμων πηγών ενέργειας και φροντίζουν ώστε να μπορέσει να διοχετευτεί αυτή η ενέργεια και να απορροφηθεί.
Thank you, Nicholas. I think this is a very big question and it needs perhaps a different seminar to address this. But anyway, we're glad that you brought this up. So, now we have concluded our session, and I pass the floor to Mr. Kimon Malateras, who is the Corporate Affairs Director of PPC. I also wish to thank him from our part and our institute for the good cooperation we had, and congratulations for actually managing this conference on time. So, Mr. Malateras, you have the floor.
Congratulations to you, right back at you, and to the esteemed guest here. Okay, I think that there were quite a few enlightening and challenging and interesting thoughts heard, and we feel that we're definitely living wiser on the issues at hand, and where are the opportunities and the challenges existing in the energy sector in Southeastern Europe. Before going on to food and drinks and some small surprise coming up for you, I would like to have our own President and CEO, Mr. Panagiotakis, for a closing remark. Mr. President.
Θα ήθελα να εκφράσω την ικανοποίησή μου για την επιτυχία της σημερινής μας εκδήλωσης. Να εκφράσω ιδιαίτερα τις ευχαριστίες μου προς όλους τους εκλεκτούς ομιλητές, οι οποίοι συνέβαλαν στο να φωτιστούν πολλές πλευρές και να αναδειχτούν προβλήματα. Θέλω να ευχαριστήσω τις εταιρείες που πήραν μέρος, τόσο από τις γειτονικές μας χώρες, την Κύπρο, όσο και τις εταιρείες από την Κίνα. Πιστεύω ότι τους δόθηκε η ευκαιρία μεγαλύτερης αλληλοκατανόησης, εμβάθυνσης και ανάπτυξη των σχέσεών τους. Εμείς ως ΔΕΗ, τα στελέχη και εγώ προσωπικά, από τη σημερινή ημερίδα πήραμε πολλά πράγματα. Θέλω να ξεχωρίσω μερικά. Γενικά, όπως θα ακούσατε και από τον εκπρόσωπο της Euroelectric, οι εταιρείες ηλεκτρισμού βρίσκονται μπροστά στις ραγδαίες εξελίξεις της τεχνολογίας, τις πολιτικές εξελίξεις, τις θεσμικές εξελίξεις σε επίπεδο Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, βρίσκονται μπροστά σε πρωτοφανείς προκλήσεις και προβληματίζονται για το μέλλον τους. Αυτό άλλωστε καταδείχθηκε με τον πιο εμφαντικό τρόπο στην Λισαβόνα, στα πλαίσια ενός συνεδρίου που οργάνωσε η Euroelectric πριν από λίγο διάστημα. Στα πλαίσια αυτά και εμείς παίρνουμε τα μηνύματα και αντιλαμβανόμαστε ότι ο ρόλος μας πρέπει να αλλάξει. Ακούσαμε ότι οι καταναλωτές θα είναι στο προσκήνιο. Ακούσαμε ότι η κεντρική παραγωγή δεν θα είναι πια οι βασιλιάδες, αλλά άλλοι θα είναι οι βασιλιάδες στην παραγωγή της ηλεκτρικής ενέργειας. Ακούσαμε για την ψηφιοποίηση, για τα ηλεκτρικά αυτοκίνητα, για τις νέες τεχνολογίες, για την αποθήκευση. Όλα αυτά είναι στοιχεία πολύ σημαντικά για τη δική μας στρατηγική. Θέλω να πιστεύω ότι όλοι μας έχουμε πάρει τα μηνύματα που πρέπει. Γνωρίζετε, και όσοι δεν γνωρίζετε σας το λέω τώρα, ότι δεν βρίσκεται μπροστά, μάλλον στη διαδικασία διαμόρφωσης της στρατηγικής της και του επιχειρησιακού της σχεδιασμού με την συνδρομή, με την υποστήριξη έγκριτου Συμβούλου. Σε λίγους μήνες θα αποσαφηνίσουμε αυτή τη στρατηγική. Όμως έχουμε ήδη διαμορφωμένες και δουλεύουμε με βάση αυτές τις στρατηγικές μας κατευθύνσεις, που είναι η διαφοροποίηση των προϊόντων μας, των δραστηριοτήτων μας. Είπα και χάρηκα. Πιστεύω ότι είμαστε σε θέση, μετά από όλη την προεργασία που έχουμε κάνει και εν ώψη και της στρατηγικής μας, να αρχίσουμε να μιλάμε, και αυτό θα κάνουμε, με πολύ μεγαλύτερη αισιοδοξία, ότι η ΔΕΗ είναι ένα αναπτυξιακό εργαλείο για τη χώρα και παρά το γεγονός ότι προσαρμοζόμενοι στις ευρωπαϊκές πολιτικές θα μειωθεί το μερίδιό της στην εγχώρια αγορά, θα γίνει πράξη αυτό που έχουμε πει, ότι θα είναι μια διαφορετική εταιρεία, μεγαλύτερη και ισχυρότερη. Τελειώνοντας, θα ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω θερμά το ΙΕΝΕ, την Διεθνή Έκθεση Θεσσαλονίκης και το ΙΕΑ για την εξαιρετική συνεργασία που είχαν και την καθοριστική του συμβολή για την επιτυχία αυτής της ημερίδας. Και βέβαια να ευχαριστήσω τη Διεύθυνση Επικοινωνίας, το Διευθυντή και τα στελέχη της, όπως και όλους τους άλλους